Imagine you are walking through a cold valley 35,000 years ago. The sun is almost gone. The air smells like wet grass, smoke, and animal skin. Your feet hurt. Your stomach is empty. Somewhere behind the trees, a branch cracks. You stop. Everyone in your group stops too. There is no flashlight, no phone, no doctor waiting at camp, no police, no walls, no supermarket where you can walk in and pretend you are not one bad week away from disaster. And then you realize something worse. You are limping. Not badly, just enough. Enough that if the group has to run, you are the slow one. Enough that if a predator follows the smell of blood, you might become the part of the story nobody talks about at breakfast. Then someone steps beside you. Not your mother, not your child, maybe not even close family. Just one person who has walked with you for years. Someone who knows how you think. Someone who knows that when you point twice at the mud, you mean fresh tracks. Someone who has shared food with you when your hunt failed and laughed at you when you tried to make a spearhead and somehow made a very sharp potato. They slow down, they stay near you, and suddenly the valley is still terrifying. But you are not alone in it. So here is the strange question. Did cavemen have best friends? Not friends like modern people texting bro and sending each other weird animal videos, but real trusted partners, close allies, people who remembered your debts, your skills, your mistakes, your courage, your terrible jokes, and maybe even your favorite piece of roasted marrow. And if they did have best friends, were those friendships just emotional, or were they survival technology? Because in the Ice Age, friendship was not just someone to sit beside at the fire. Friendship could mean one more pair of eyes in the dark, one person who notices you are missing, one person who gives you meat when you fail, one person who stands next to you when a stronger person in camp gets angry. One person who says, in whatever early language or gesture system your group used, "No, don't eat that mushroom. Remember what happened to the other guy?" By the end of this story, you may not see ancient friendship as a cute little human detail. You may see it as one of the reasons the weakest-looking animal in the landscape became the most dangerous one. But first, we need to make the problem worse. Because modern humans hear best friends and think of coffee, gossip, birthdays, and maybe someone helping you move a sofa. Ancient humans had a different version. Their version was, will you still share food with me when I come back empty-handed, or do I get to spend the evening chewing bark and regretting my entire personality? That sounds funny until you remember one problem. A lone human was not very impressive. Physically speaking, ancient humans were not built like monsters. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no thick winter fur, no amazing night vision. Not especially fast, not especially strong. A horse could outrun them. A wolf could smell better than them. A bear could solve most arguments by simply being a bear. Even a large bird could look at a human baby and think, that seems portable. Humans were sweaty, nervous, upright apes with sharp rocks and big plans. And the big plans were the important part. But plans are fragile when you are alone. If you twist your ankle, your plan is gone. If you lose your spear, your plan is gone. If you forget where the good water is, your plan is gone. If you anger the wrong person in your own group, your plan may leave camp before sunrise and not invite you. This is where friendship starts to matter. Not as a soft emotional bonus, as a system. Imagine a small group moving across a landscape they know well, but not perfectly. There are children, older people, strong hunters, careful gatherers, people who remember plants, people who notice weather, people who are good at making tools, people who are terrible at making tools but very confident anyway. Nobody survives by doing everything. The group is the armor. But inside that group, not all relationships are equal. Some people are relatives. Some people are useful. Some people are dangerous. Some people are annoying but good with fire, so everyone tolerates them. And some people become special. The person you sit beside, the person who shares a joke with you, the person who watches your back during a hunt, the person who knows your signals, the person who trusts you enough to sleep near you when the dark comes down. That may be the ancient shape of a best friend. Now, we have to be careful. Archaeologists cannot dig up a skeleton and say, ah, yes, this femur clearly belonged to Greg, best friend of Thog, excellent listener, emotionally available, bad at fishing. Friendship does not fossilize neatly, but behavior leaves traces. Care leaves traces. Food sharing leaves traces. Long-distance materials leave traces. Injuries that healed leave traces. And when we look at humans, Neanderthals, and modern hunter-gatherer societies, a pattern appears again and again. Survival was social. Here is the detail that changes everything. Food was not predictable. Some days a hunter came back with meat. Some days he came back with a story about how the animal almost got caught, which is still a very popular tradition among humans. Some days gatherers found nuts, berries, roots, eggs, honey, or edible plants. Some days the land offered nothing useful except mud and disappointment. In a world like that, sharing was not just kindness, it was insurance. Today we have refrigerators, bank accounts, and that mysterious frozen thing in the back of the freezer that nobody wants to identify. Ancient people had relationships. If you shared with me today, maybe I shared with you later. If your child was hungry, maybe my family gave a little. If my leg was hurt, maybe you carried a tool for me. Over time, everyone remembered who gave, who helped, who lied, who panicked, and who always seemed to appear exactly when the meat was finished. That memory was powerful. A best friend was not just someone you liked. A best friend was a walking savings account made of trust. But here is where it gets strange. The best friend did not have to be the strongest person. In fact, the most valuable friend may have been the reliable one, the one who did not run too early, the one who did not steal your tool, the one who noticed smoke on the horizon, the one who remembered that last winter the river froze near the bend, but the reeds still hid birds. The one who could say, no, not that path. Last time, wolves. That kind of friendship is built from repeated moments, tiny moments, shared work, shared danger, shared boredom, shared meals, shared stories, and probably shared grooming. Yes, grooming. Not glamorous, not exactly a Netflix romance, but important. Among many primates, grooming is not just cleaning, it is social glue. One animal sits close to another, touches them, removes parasites, relaxes tension, and quietly says without words, "We are good." Humans probably carried some version of that deep primate habit with them. Maybe not exactly like chimpanzees sitting for hours picking through fur, because humans had less fur and more complicated schedules, like try not to die before sunset. But touch mattered. Sitting close mattered. Cleaning wounds mattered. Removing lice mattered. Braiding, scratching, rubbing sore muscles, checking skin, helping with hair, helping with clothing or hides. All of this could build trust. And this is the part most people forget. A relaxed body near the fire is not just comfortable, it is information. If someone lets you sit close while they are tired, they trust you. If someone lets you touch their wound, they trust you. If someone falls asleep near you, they trust you with their life for several hours, which is slightly more serious than accepting a friend request. Now add fire. Fire changed ancient friendship in a huge way. Fire was heat, light, cooking, protection, and a meeting place. It was like a heater, kitchen, security lamp, and social media feed all in one, except the comments were probably shouted by people wearing animal skins. Around fire, people could talk longer, watch faces, share food, repair tools, tell stories, warn children, remember the dead. Laugh at the person who got chased by a very angry goose-like bird and absolutely deserved it. Fire made the night less empty. And when the night became less empty, relationships could deepen. Because friendship needs time. You cannot build trust only while running from a cave lion. Running from a cave lion can start a friendship, but ideally, at some point, you sit down and discuss how badly that went. Around the fire, ancient people could replay the day. This track meant deer. That smell meant danger. That cloud meant snow. That old man knew where the flint was. That young woman spotted bees near the cliff. That idiot touched the shiny red berries, and now everyone has learned something. This is where language, gesture, and memory become survival tools. A friend is someone who stores your story. They remember what you did. They remember what you are good at. They remember what happened when you tried something stupid. And in a small group, that social memory could protect you. If someone accused you of taking food, your close allies might speak for you. If you were sick, they might remind others that you had helped before. If you failed in a hunt, they might know you were not lazy, just unlucky. But friendship had a darker side too, because trust creates insiders and outsiders. Here is where the story gets uncomfortable. A best friend can save you. A pair of best friends can also become a coalition. A coalition is when two or more people support each other, and that can change the balance of power in a group. Imagine one large, aggressive person in camp, strong, loud, always grabbing the best meat, the kind of person who would definitely leave a one-star review for winter. If everyone faces him alone, he wins. But if people have close bonds, if they talk, if they trust each other, if they quietly agree that this person is becoming a problem, then the strongest individual is no longer the strongest force. The network is. This may have been one of the deep human tricks. We were not just cooperative because we were nice. We were cooperative because cooperation could control danger inside the group. Predators were outside, but conflict was inside. Jealousy, theft, anger, mating competition, food disputes, bad leadership, someone making a terrible decision and insisting it was actually wisdom. Friendships and alliances helped manage that. They created support, they created pressure, they created rules. And once rules exist, culture begins to grow teeth. Do not steal from the shared meat. Do not abandon children. Do not attack someone without cause. Do not ignore warnings. Do not eat all the marrow and pretend you found it like that. Of course, we cannot say every ancient group had the same rules. Human societies vary hugely. But the basic need for trust, reputation, and cooperation goes very deep. Now keep this in mind because it matters later. Friendship was not just emotional. It was political. It shaped who got help, who got food, who got defended, who got taught, and who got remembered. And now we need a real example. Here's a thing that actually happened. At sites connected with Neanderthals, researchers have found individuals who survived serious injuries or physical difficulties for long periods. One famous example often discussed is Shanidar I, a Neanderthal from what is now Iraq. This individual had major injuries and impairments, including damage that would have made survival much harder. The details are debated, and scientists are careful about exactly how much care was needed, but the larger point is powerful. Some prehistoric humans and human relatives survived conditions that would have been extremely difficult without help. Food had to be brought, wounds had to be tolerated or treated, movement had to be managed. The group had to allow a vulnerable person to keep living. That does not prove best friends in the modern sense, but it does show something important. Prehistoric social life was not just everyone for themselves. Someone who could no longer hunt perfectly was not automatically abandoned the moment they became inconvenient. And if care existed, then close bonds probably mattered. Because care is expensive. When you give food to someone who cannot give back today, you take a risk. When you slow down for someone, the whole group may pay a cost. When you protect the injured, you spend energy. So why do it? Maybe because they were family. Maybe because the person had knowledge. Maybe because group rules demanded care. Maybe because long-term cooperation paid off, and maybe sometimes because someone loved them, or liked them, or trusted them, or had shared so many nights beside the same fire that leaving them behind felt impossible. That is where ancient friendship becomes almost haunting, because it means the Ice Age was not only a place of teeth, hunger, and cold. It was also a place where someone may have sat beside an injured friend and refused to leave. But do not make it too cute. This was not a cartoon friendship bracelet situation. Ancient friendship had pressure. If your friend failed, you might suffer. If your friend started a fight, you might be pulled into it. If your friend made a bad choice during a hunt, you might end up standing very close to an angry animal with no customer service desk to complain to. Trust was useful, but trust was dangerous. This is why social intelligence mattered so much. Ancient humans had to track animals, yes, but they also had to track people. Who is angry? Who is generous? Who is lying? Who is brave only when the danger is far away? Who shares with children? Who helps the old? Who disappears during work and reappears during dinner? Tracking people may have been as important as tracking deer. Think of it like reading footprints in mud. A footprint tells you an animal passed here. A pattern of behavior tells you what kind of person you are dealing with. And ancient people were probably excellent at this. They lived in small groups where everyone's behavior was visible. There was no hiding behind a screen name. If you were selfish, people remembered. If you were loyal, people remembered that too. Memory became a map. Not just of rivers and cliffs and seasonal plants, a map of relationships. And children learned this early. A child watching adults share food was not just seeing dinner, they were seeing society. They learned who sat with whom, who joked with whom, who repaired tools together, who avoided each other, who got comforted when they cried, who got warned before danger, who had influence. Before schools, before books, before written laws, children learned friendship by watching survival happen in public. And this tiny detail may have saved lives, because a child with friends is safer than a child alone. A teenager with allies can learn faster. A young hunter with a trusted partner can make riskier plans. Two people can drive prey toward others. Two people can carry more. Two people can keep each other awake. Two people can argue before making a fatal mistake, which is annoying, but sometimes extremely useful. Imagine one hunter sees fresh tracks leading into thick brush. He wants to follow. His friend grabs his arm. They stare at each other. No words needed. The friend points to broken branches higher up. Too high for deer. Maybe something larger moved there. Maybe a bear. Maybe a big cat. Maybe the forest is about to make a very persuasive argument against curiosity. One person alone might continue. Two people can doubt together. That is underrated. Doubt can be a survival tool. And a good friend is often the person who says, "Your plan is brave, but it is also stupid, and I would prefer not to become bones today." Now comes the surprising turn. Friendship did not just help humans survive nature. It helped humans become more dangerous to nature. A lone human with a spear is a problem for small animals. A group of humans with trust, memory, signals, roles, and shared plans is something else entirely. That is when the rules change. Now humans can surround prey. They can track an animal for hours. They can remember where it ran last season. They can use fire to shape movement. They can share meat afterwards, so not everyone has to be lucky every day. They can teach children the same method, and over generations, the method gets better. The real weapon was not just the spear. The real weapon was the relationship network holding the spear points together. That sounds dramatic, but think about it. A spear is useless if nobody trusts the person beside them. A hunt collapses if signals are ignored. A camp fails if food is never shared. Knowledge dies if nobody teaches it. Fire goes out if nobody tends it. Children suffer if nobody watches them. Old knowledge disappears if elders are ignored. Friendship, trust, and cooperation made simple tools stronger than they looked. This is why ancient humans were scarier than their bodies suggested. They were not the fastest animal. They were not the strongest animal. But they could become many minds acting like one creature. And if you are a large Ice Age animal, that is a very unfair update to the ecosystem. At first, you see one small upright ape, then another, then another. Then you realize they have a plan. Then you realize they remember what happened yesterday. Then you realize they brought their friends. Very rude. And this brings us back to the fire. Picture two ancient people sitting beside it. One has meat, the other has none. In a simple cartoon, it looks sweet. One caveman shares food with another. But under that tiny scene is a whole system, a memory of past favors, a promise of future help, a bond made stronger by touch, laughter, danger, hunger, and shared stories. A small alliance against cold, animals, injury, loneliness, and the occasional terrible decision. Did cavemen have best friends? We cannot prove that two specific prehistoric people looked at each other and thought, "That is my best friend." We cannot know their exact words, their private jokes, or who they preferred to sit beside after a bad hunt. But we can say this. Ancient humans and their relatives lived in worlds where close bonds mattered deeply. They shared food. They cooperated. They cared for vulnerable individuals. They learned from each other. They built trust through repeated behavior. They used social memory to survive. And somewhere inside all of that, something very much like friendship almost certainly existed. Maybe it did not look exactly like friendship today. No selfies, no matching bracelets, no birthday posts. No one saying, "We should start a podcast," which may have been one of the few advantages of the Stone Age. But the core was there. I know you. I trust you. I remember you helped me. I will sit near you in the dark. I will share when I can. I will warn you when danger comes. And if you fall behind, I might slow down. That is not a small thing. In a world without walls, friendship could be a wall. In a world without medicine, friendship could be care. In a world without maps, friendship could be memory. In a world full of teeth, friendship could be one more reason not to die today. So ancient humans did not survive because they were perfect survival machines. They survived because they could turn relationships into tools. They could turn trust into protection. They could turn sharing into insurance. They could turn a campfire into a school, a courtroom, a kitchen, a therapy session, and probably a place where someone told the same hunting story way too many times. And that may be the most human part of all. The Ice Age was brutal, but it was not empty. There were voices in the dark, hands reaching for other hands, people laughing when they were scared, people remembering who mattered, people choosing again and again not to face the night alone. So the next time your best friend sends you a message that just says, "Are you awake?" at the worst possible hour, remember this. Deep in your ancient brain, part of you may still think they are checking whether the fire is out and the wolves are close. And honestly, compared with the Ice Age, helping them choose a movie is a pretty easy survival task.